You're listening to All My Friends Are Ghosts, a long-form narrative drama told in 14 parts. Starring Blake Cormier as Simon, Joe Barton as Peter, Lauren Seal as the narrator, and additional voices from Leslie Seal and Zach Dunlap. Original music and sound design by Blake Cormier. Additional field recordings by Karam Harmansi. More information about the production and all songs used in the show can be found at adoredbymillions.com. All My Friends Are Ghosts is written and directed by Blake Cormier. Episode 14, The Letter. Walking up the stairs to the room he'd called home for the past year seemed an altogether alien experience. It was as if he'd spent the past week and a half bad-mouthing an old friend and was now face to face with them, forcing a smile. He reached out and turned the doorknob, pushing the door away, swinging his bag off his shoulder and onto the bed. His eyes immediately caught a letter-sized envelope which had been placed atop his record player. He noticed it appeared to have been posted the day before he'd left with Peter.
Dear Simon, tried to file things away and put everything into perspective and have it all fit together in some way that makes sense or is manageable, but I just can't figure it out. I don't know what you need from me, or if you need anything from me, or if you're even thinking about it, me, us, whatever we are, or were, or ever were, I guess. I'm sorry. I messed up. Loving you was something I can't explain. I was in a place where I didn't want to be in life, in the world, in my head, and I couldn't stay there. When I had reached the end of my rope and resolved to actually do something about it and leave the city and make a change, you were suddenly there. And things changed, and yes, I fell in love with you. I know I've never actually said that before, well, not to you, but I'm not going to dwell on it too long. Take it for what it's worth, which, at this point, may be nothing. Falling for you changed my life in so many ways, but it ultimately meant that I was being pulled deeper into a place I didn't want to be, and I'd been on the verge of escaping when we met. I hope you can understand this, and I hope we can somehow reconnect at some point in the future. I don't want for this to be some cold, impersonal dispatch, but you asked me not to contact you, and I just thought putting it all in writing might save us some misery, or at least a little awkwardness. I can't say what it was that drew me in so quickly, so deeply. I'm not sure anyone can ever really put that into words. I know I've said a lot of things that haven't reflected how I actually feel, and I know I ended up trying to push you away to make you hate me so I could have an easier time leaving, to little avail perhaps. But honestly, there was something resonant and lasting and vibrant and, I don't know, complete, I guess. But now it's over. And now, we're not in love. I'm not in love. And so I just have to move forward knowing I tried as well as I was able to try. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know. I hope life somehow brings you what you need, though. I know that much. You truly deserve it. With love.
He sat there fidgeting with the envelope and the letter itself for several seconds. The room a convulsive, rubbery mess through his swollen eyes. In time, 3 separate tears had fallen to the page, forming circular patches of semi-translucent pulp and smeared ink. He watched them. He glossed over the words again, this time in an order of his own making, reading the letter in a patchwork of phrases set to a new rhythm. In some disjointed reworking he might find sense, he thought. He thought maybe the intent of the letter was to throw him off balance or to suck him back into the boy's grasp in some way. He wondered why the boy had even bothered writing him at all, as he had to have known it would have been hurtful to read. Or was that the point? He thought about how he'd spent the last week and a half seeing everything with new eyes, and how that quality had been what had attracted him to the boy in the first place. He saw that the boy was writing out of desperation. He wondered what that desperation was for a moment, and then it hit him. He was finally grieving. He'd had time to be alone, truly alone. It had been long enough for him to feel what life was like after love finds you and you turn your back on it. In some sense, it was what he had always feared and what had kept him at a distance the entire time they'd known each other. The fear of completely letting go and letting someone give themselves to you. He let himself get too attached to disconnect completely without being haunted by the ghost of what they'd had. But simply missing the obsessive need he had offered the boy wasn't the same thing as loving him back. And he had left, and now it was too late. He thought about the city and what it meant to him when he was with the boy, what it meant to him now, and how he resolved to free himself from its pull. An apology for leaving, he thought, implied that was where their troubles had started. It was a gut-wrenching thought. Could the boy really have seen things so one-sided? He reflected on all the conversations with friends and coworkers, with their constant refrain of, "But where would you go? I mean, nowhere beats this place." And, "Oh, I could never leave the bay. It's in my blood." And then he remembered the unspoken poetry of the sagebrush thickets that line the highways of Colorado, and the gloomy, hyacinth-choked riverways of Louisiana, and how the air smelled like flowers in the lush, green mountains of northern Arkansas. And then he crumpled up the letter and tossed it in the trash can on his way out the door.
Time. Those are over there. Please hold on.
Don't sleep alone. no word. Your body's getting old. Settle down, boy. Just accept this role. It's easier.
He disembarked the 22 bus at the corner of Fillmore and Sutter and walked up the hill past the high-end boutiques until he came to the floor-to-ceiling glass door of Peter's newest restaurant. He pressed the metal bar and watched in a stupor as the giant pane twisted on its axis, a crystalline monolith pivoting in space. He moved hesitantly into the ultramodern space, and as he removed his earbuds, he was intercepted by a host dressed in elegant black.
Hey,
Sorry, sir. We're not open yet at this location.
She was carrying a box of glass napkin rings.
We're actually having an invite-only soft opening later this evening. Please feel free to find us on social media.
Oh, damn. Okay, I guess I can just go down to Burger King then.
Simon?
Wasting no time upon their return, Peter was elbow deep in preparation.
Corey, that's my brother.
Oh.
Simon, come back around. You've only got like half an hour.
As Simon approached the bar at the back of the restaurant, his brother teetered on the top step of a ladder, almost hanging from the wine rack that covered the entire back wall, frantically flailing a massive feather brush in circles.
Can you come outside for a minute?
Simon, I really have to finish this.
I can't believe you're already in full tilt work mode again. We just got back like 3 hours ago.
Simon, there's a lot to do. I told you. It's not like your job, where you can just show up and half-ass it and... I mean, you're already clearly having some sort of crisis or whatever, so you're obviously full tilt too.
The rest of it hit Simon's ears like the dull buzz of an electric fan. His head was still consumed with a flush of endorphins that had come after crying. A sort of satisfied, resigned mental exhaustion. A numb sense of being able to take whatever was coming next, since all of it was a blurry wash of images and distant sounds. When his brother had stopped talking, he breathed in deeply and calmly looked up at him.
Can you please come outside for a minute? This will literally take between, 1 and 4 minutes.
Okay, weirdo. Hey, Marcos, can you finish this? I'll just be 1 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
Simon thought the whir of passing cars and bikes and buses at his back might make it easier for the brothers to once again find that groove of brutal honesty they'd reached while traveling, and he was right.
I'm leaving.
It just came out of his mouth. It was that easy.
I don't want you to.
I know.
He wanted to tell him that he didn't want to leave, but he also didn't want to lie to him. More than anything, though, he wanted to be able to say something, whatever it might be, to stop his brother's eyes from swelling up. But he didn't have the words to say. Peter wasn't in shock, but he was overwhelmed by what they'd been through, and thought maybe Simon just needed some time to process those feelings too. He tried, however briefly, to convince him to give it a couple of weeks, but he knew it was of no use. He knew they were both backed into their respective corners, and that Simon's resolve was just as strong as his own, and so he let it go. There weren't many more words spoken about it. Years of thought and sound and energy were relayed in those looks they exchanged, both real and imagined. And the simple truth of it all boiled down to it being the inevitable end of what they'd known as normalcy since their mother's death. Simon wanted to explain how something intangible had taken hold, but he didn't see the point. He wanted to tell him what he'd been thinking as they stood in front of Delicate Arch, looking out into that gorgeous desert where part of their mother now lived. But he didn't want Peter to start crying again. Instead, he just told his brother that he loved him and that he would write to him soon and often. They both stood there in silence for a moment as people passed by, searching for something worth saying.
Do you remember what it was like when we were about to leave on a road trip with Mom and Dad when we were little?
What do you mean?
Well, like, when we were leaving and we'd be sitting in the car with Mom and Dad would be frantically trying to make sure everything was in its right place or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And he'd be triple checking the deadbolts and kicking the tires and stuff?
Yeah. I always got so annoyed with him.
We all did.
Remember how he'd give us that angry warning, like, you better pee now because we're not stopping, like 15 times before we left?
Yes. And how we'd always find something we left behind, no matter how hard we tried to pack everything we needed in our backpacks. Like the canteen I always took. He'd come back from like his 5th trip checking our rooms and be holding that canteen. And I just sinked into my seat.
Oh my god. Yes. It was like the end of the world if we'd forgotten something.
God, I know.
I kind of feel like... I don't know. I mean, I wonder if all that rage and all that worry and all that stuff he took out on us, if that was all just his own crap he was dealing with.
Well, you know it was. I mean, kids are stupid. Kids forget stuff and piss themselves. Don't have kids if you don't want to deal with that, right?
Right. I mean, that's how I've always viewed it. I've always thought Dad didn't want kids and, like, just had them to please Mom. But, you know, then he's still the same guy, only now he has kids to care for, and it's like, oops, this doesn't just magically work out with no effort? But I feel like when I really think about it now, maybe that was just his own inability to deal with the anxiety of the situation. Like, maybe he was yelling about you leaving your canteen because he didn't know how to do anything else. Like, maybe it made him so sad to imagine you feeling heartbroken about having left it that he was just, I don't know, overwhelmed by it or something.
I mean, I think that's definitely what was happening. But it just seemed so much worse. Like, I don't know, it seemed so evil or whatever at the time. Because she was always so great to us, you know?
Yeah. I'm just sort of stuck at the moment in this place where I feel genuinely mistaken about him. I don't know. Like, I grew up thinking he was my enemy, but now I think maybe he was just scared because he cared so much and because he was, like, completely terrified of failing at this role that he just wasn't suited for. Like, he didn't have any of the tools we have. He didn't have what Mom gave us. He didn't have words to say any of the stuff we're saying now.
Simon gently swung his arm out and squeezed his brother's bicep.
I'm gonna need your car.
The car you just spent 2 weeks roasting at every turn?
That very one.
Of course. Do you have any idea when you'll Return it?
Nope. No idea.
It's yours. We'll make it work. I really gotta get back in there, Simon.
No, I know. Hey, listen. I'm gonna go out to the sunset to say bye to Wendy and the kids, okay?
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, please do that. They'd be crushed if you left without saying goodbye.
Dude, of course. No, I'm just mentioning because I'd like to take Mom with me. And maybe the rest of those old pictures you've got. I kind of feel like I want to finish the whole deranged Johnny Appleseed cremated remains thing you started.
Seriously?
Yeah. I want to take Mom, and I want to finish it. It's a good memorial. It's a good idea. You were right.
Okay. Yeah, well, she's in my closet, standing in the back in one of my hiking boots. The box of pictures is on my bedside table.
Okay. I'll send you pictures when I write, and I'll call you, and maybe you can come out in a few months, and we can go up and do Niagara Falls together.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we could even just meet up there and go to New York, too.
Sure. That'd be nice.
Simon turned and started to walk back down the hill, and when he was a couple doors down from the restaurant, Peter called out to him.
Simon,
Yeah.
don't leave Mom in the glove box all night, okay? Take her in with you whenever you stop somewhere.
Simon smiled and waved and let his eyes linger on his brother as he stepped back a few feet. Then he turned and put his earbuds in, and he was gone. The next morning, as he pulled out onto Oak, a cranked, fuzzy wall of guitars blared from the speakers of the car's stereo. He reached out and turned up the volume just as the boom, crack of the drums kicked in. As the car crossed the Visadero, the bittersweet counter melodies of the lead guitar and bass came in. His mind was instinctively detailing the colors and shapes of the road as he climbed the hill. Each splash of graffiti, the rows of bay windows, all the cars and trees lining both sides of the street seemed like some anthropological artifacts he might never encounter again. He knew well what lay ahead of him. California's all but barren Central Valley, destroyed by drought, dusty, vacant pastures and farm roads. He knew well what lay ahead of him. The dry, heat-plagued deserts of the Southwest, the endless play of asphalt cutting through that burnt, ancient sand and rock. He knew well what lay ahead of him. The towering orange boulders of Arizona, the illuminated sprawl of Las Cruces, New Mexico, twinkling below the highway in the Black Valley at night. He knew well what lay ahead of him. The expansive, rolling hills of Texas, the never-ending skies, the swamplands heading east, and his father.
say